It is finally time for my review of Divinity's Twilight Rebirth by Russel. Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is the Divinity's Twilight Rebirth review. This is book one in, I'm not sure how many books are planned in this series, but the second book is out. It is a chonker and very intimidating, and I know book three is on the way, and sometime 2024. Divinity's Twilight Rebirth for me was this epic genre mashup of fantasy, military, sci-fi, horror elements, and it really does set the stage for something spectacular. Before we jump into the review today, make sure you're checking the description box down below for links to my social media and Discord should you want to come along for the ride. The year is 697 after the Battle of Harmonth, an epic battle between three godlike brothers that divided the world. Only the war never ended, not really. As Sion is sealed in a tomb protected by the creatures of your nightmares, the world is split into three nations, each with the ideals of one of the brothers at its head. But the ancient power in the heart of Harmonth has never forgotten the events of all those years before and is ready to unleash itself on the world. Weakened, it will have to use the bodies of others to exact its revenge, and it is willing to use however many bodies it takes. As tensions rise between these different belief systems, it's up to a new band of unlikely heroes to step up and find their place in the world, all while trying not to kill each other first. These students are not yet graduated, and they are about to get one hell of a lesson in politics, magic, and technology as they remind themselves that they are all on the same side. This book has a character for everyone. We've got a coming of age character, we've got an unlikable, brooding character with a backstory, and a few that just kick ass along the way. Now, I know this plot sounds rather vague, but you really do need to read it to experience it. There is just so much happening in this book. Divinity's Twilight Rebirth has a lot to take in, and there are several places where it shines, in my opinion. The world building, starting with an epic prologue, which is about 90 pages long. Now, that being said, the author has re-released a prologue, which is about 25% of the length, but if you do like a lengthy world-building-esque prologue, which leaves you with a little bit of confusion but is very cool, then you'll want to read that 90-page epic. It also has a awesome genre blend. The author has taken so many creative liberties here to put something truly spectacular and experimental on the page, and I think it pays off here. And the last thing I'll touch upon is the enhancement of magic within this book. All of these things kept me turning the pages. For me, I know I sound like a broken record, but the world was really the showrunner here. It was definitely the star of the show, in my opinion. The prologue itself, like I said, being 90 pages, is quite epic, and it introduces the reader to this sordid and dark history of the world we're now experiencing. From the get-go, we as the reader know that we are getting into a world that is well thought out and has a dark and sordid past. I will say, if you're going into the 90-page prologue, that it can get a little bit convoluted at times. Be sure to check out the shortened version for a much easier and snappier read, in my opinion. But like I said, if you like those world-building elements, you like a bit of epic, gods behaving badly, then maybe just check out the full prologue and go along for the ride. The world-building aspects of this story starts off strong, and they just get better. Russel has done a phenomenal job of creating a world which feels rich, dangerous, and homely all at the same time. We as the reader experience so much in this debut, from the insane battlefields which are full of advancing technologies enhanced with magic, hometowns with regular run-of-the-mill like grocery stores and house some overly friendly owners, and the slums of lives past where being fast and cutthroat were the key to survival for our characters. Everywhere we went and everywhere we experienced in this story had something new to discover, and I thought it was really a wonderful experience if you are a world-building driven reader. Another thing that I quite enjoyed in Divinity's Twilight Rebirth was the genre blend. I think that, like I said, this author has taken some creative liberties and just had fun with the amount of genres that have been thrown in here. The author has used elements from a handful of genres and mashed them together in new and exciting ways. We have horror elements which were explored as we uncovered different terrains, and that made for some really anxiety-inducing scenes and travel moments throughout the book. We had an advancement of technology and an introduction of airships and weaponry, which were mixed with magic, and they were used, so magic was being used to enhance these technologies. And it gave us a really cool mix of sci-fi, fantasy, a little bit of steampunk in there, and it got a little bit military-esque with some of the technologies and the weaponry being used. So we had that military-esque theme, which was also underlying a lot of the plot as our three sides sort of fought for control and pushed their agendas onto one another. This was the basis of the devastating war that we now find ourselves in this book. This book really had it all, and because the author has just had fun with it, it made it really fun to read. I will say that character-driven readers may have a harder time getting into Divinity's Twilight Rebirth or the first book of the Divinity's Twilight Saga, because for me they did feel a little bit flat. Myself not being an overly character-driven reader, I will forgive a lot of character work, but if you are someone who is character-driven, know that from other character-driven readers that have read the second installment, they say that it does get a lot better and a lot stronger in the second book. Why they fell flat for me was there were some horrific events which could have been gut-wrenching in this book, but I was sort of able to shrug it off and carry on to the next page without a second thought for the characters. They weren't built up in a way that I felt emotionally connected to them. I was like, oh, that sucks, and we moved on. However, like I said, I have heard really good things about book two and the character work that has been worked on in that second installment. This is the type of debut which does excite me as a reader personally. The author has some really interesting ideas and isn't afraid to explore them. I think that is such a beautiful thing in the world of indie publishing, is that you can write the story that you want to tell, have fun with the genres that you want to have fun with, and it creates an epic and a really fun time. I am very much looking forward to the next part of this series, which I hope to get to at some point soon, hopefully in 2024, fingers crossed, and fairly early if that, but it is a chonker of a book. That was my review for Divinity's Twilight Rebirth by Christopher Russell. Have you read this one? Are you going to pick it up? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like the content, give it one of those, and if you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.